Okay guys, here's kind of an update video regarding my last video about Patience Wolfe and her family and what they're going through. I think a lot of people were confused by my last video and thinking that I was saying all of this was not true. That's not at all what I meant. If you go back and listen, I clearly said that I had had several people message me, and I said in that video clearly that I did not have enough information and that I will not listen to the hearsay that's being said like in lives on TikTok and whatnot and from ex-husbands and ex-wives, and I still stand by that. I didn't have enough proof of anything to make a video. I said I would have to see proof before I made a comment or a video talking about the allegations I had heard. And well, now I've seen the proof, and unfortunately they're not just allegations against her father. I've seen the indictment and it is indeed awful. I'll talk about that in a minute though. Now, in my last video, I was talking more so about the alleged CPS investigation into Patience and Johnny, because it was around that time that so many people had started making videos saying that CPS was at her home and that they took the children and they kicked Johnny and Patience out for 30 days. And they might have. And that's what my video was about, my first one. But I still stand by the fact that none of us know for sure about that yet. If you're listening to people tell you these things by word of mouth or listening to people talking about it on lives, that's hearsay. And doing what I do, I absolutely cannot listen to hearsay and will never come report hearsay as if it's a fact. That's what a lot of people on this app are doing. There are also people saying that it's not true, that Patience and Johnny are indeed home, that their children are with them, and that all of this is being made up. So how am I supposed to know what's true or not? How am I supposed to know which story to believe when it comes to that? I know Patience has not posted in several days, but I can imagine she's going through hell right now. I was simply saying if there was indeed a CPS investigation, let it be completed before we start talking about it and saying things like Patience had her kids taken away and whatnot. Now, let me speak on the proof that I have since gotten, and I'll give you my opinion on that. I saw the indictment for Patience's father, and y'all, it's bad. I'm not going into details about that, but if y'all want, y'all can go visit my friend Shan Sweet Tea's page on TikTok. I'll tag her in this video. She speaks more on it. Her dad was indeed convicted and found guilty of sexually abusing a child, and I do believe that child was 8. 8 years old, y'all. 8. That's awful. I mean, any child is awful, but oh my gosh. Now, it was also stated in the indictment that her father penetrated the child. Unbelievable. He evidently pleaded guilty, though, to lesser charges, so he would get less time in prison. I believe he's now serving 7 years, and he was sentenced a week or two ago. I'm not sure. Now, what are my thoughts on that now that I know it's true? Because I didn't know all of this and had not seen the indictment when I made my last video. I think it's horrendous. Now, from what I gather, I wasn't there, none of us were, but Patience did allow her children around her father allegedly, and I've got some questions about that. I don't agree with it, let me first say that. My biggest question is, did the judge allow that? The judge, I wonder if he signed off on it, because she posted her whole life on the internet. It had to have been known that her dad was around those kids. Now, do I know if a judge signed off on that? No. Do I think a judge should have signed off on that? Absolutely hell no. I'm just simply wondering if her dad was technically allowed to be around them. But even if that was the case, I still must say shame on Patience for allowing her dad around her children. But I have another question. That's the thing, y'all. I've got so many questions. Did she know all the details? I will say I can't imagine my father, who I loved, finding out he did something like this. That would definitely have to be one of the worst things in the world to go through. And I can say, though, as much as I loved my daddy, God rest his soul, if he had ever been accused of touching or messing with a child, I would not have allowed him around my children. Unless it was 100% supervised. I would have had to be there. There's another question I've got. Was it supervised? I unfortunately don't believe it was, because I believe I saw where she allowed her father to take her children to the beach. I'm not sure 100% if she was there or not. This was like a year or two ago. I don't think she was. And this was after all of this information about him had come out. And well, if that's true, I don't believe it's right at all. I'm also hearing hearsay that the kids were in the bed with her father when the when the sexual assault happened. Again, I have not seen that confirmed, so all that is to me right now is hearsay. I've had several people ask about how this case was any different than the Gulf Coast Stapletons. And the difference was this. I had the facts about Josh Stapleton at the time when I made my video about him. He was sentenced. I personally did not know about her father and the details. I had not seen the indictment and all of that when I made my first video. Do I eat my words? No. I didn't say none of this was true. I just said let's wait before we judge. Do I feel bad for making that video? Absolutely not. And I still stand by the fact that there are a whole lot of questions we need answers to before we jump too far into this stuff. But then again, there are things we do know to be supposed fact that are terrible. Is Patience daddy just as disgusting as Joshua Stapleton? You damn right he is. 100%. I also have people coming at me saying, oh, so you're supporting a pedophile now, or people who abuse children, meaning Patience. Are you kidding me? Those of you people calling her things like that better watch out, because that's slander. I simply said wait for the facts to come out. Let's see the proof. I even said at the end of my video, if it's all true, it's wrong. And I still need verification on some things, and I need to see some confirmation before I place too much judgment like some of you are. Something else I said in that video and still stand by is the fact that her kids always look happy and healthy. But can looks be deceiving online? You bet they can be. But in my opinion, they look healthy and happy, but that may not be true. Now, I'm going to say one last thing about this situation. Be careful who you're getting your information from. I'm not going to call this person out by name, but there's one person on here giving out a lot of misinformation and even stalking Patience. She was also known for doing the same thing to Heather Wyatt and even messing with Aubrey Wyatt's grave. You couldn't pay me $20 to follow that chick. If you know, you know. Otherwise, for now, I'm not saying a name. I may call her out later, but be careful who you're listening to and following and getting your info from. Are Patience and her family still in my prayers? You bet they are. I can't imagine what she's going through. I also still stand by the fact that she's busted her ass and done a lot with her life over the years. But kids and safety should always come first before posting your life on social media. Anyway, I hope this clears up some things for some people. For more content, make sure you follow and subscribe if you're over on YouTube.